am a second-generation Iranian American. I left my 2 kids and husband at home to travel to Iran. Then I had to run after my mom back to the state immediately to take care of her because we were worried she was going to hurt herself. It all started when my dad passed on at 59. I have been staying with my mom for the past 3 weeks. My mom has been on watch, so I've been sharing the same room with my mom. I sleep next to her on the same bed. I only have one job, that's to ensure that she's alright and she doesn't do anything to harm herself. She hardly sleeps. She might close her eyes and pretend she's sleeping, but I see through the pretense. When she sleeps, she snores gently. When she's pretending to sleep, that snore is absent. Instead, she'll turn around and around until morning. Some nights, she sneaks out of the room to the hall and cries. I see her going out, but I don't follow her because there's nothing in the hall she can use to hurt herself. She would be there, sobbing and calling out the name of my father. There are 2 reasons why she cries. They've been married for 30 years and I'm their first child. I have 3 other siblings. According to my mom, their marriage was arranged. Most Iranian are Muslim, but my family are Christian, but old traditions die hard. So back then and even now, arranged marriages were prevalent. It was their families that came together and decided that the 2 of them should get married. My dad was a businessman, and his business requires him to travel from the United States to Iran very often. My dad loved my mom from day one. My mom didn't love him. The problem was my mom was already dating a white man that goes to the same church as her. My mother family didn't approve of him, but my mom loved her boyfriend and wouldn't leave him for my dad. So, when her family came with that arrangement, she protested. She fought it with all her heart until her dad told her, "We are not forcing you to marry him. We are only saying he's a better man for you. He's one of us and we've seen his progress, but if you say no, we won't force you." My dad at that time was madly in love with my mom, so he was left to fight for her. My dad was a few years older than my mom and was an international businessman, and my mom was still in college. My dad would dress up every evening he was in the country to go and see my mom. Because of my mom, he changed his church and attended my mom's church just to be closer to her. The other guy my mom wanted to marry, the white guy, was also in the same church. It became a competition between them. The other guy at some point felt threatened and started accusing my mom of cheating. She told him, "No, I'm not cheating on you. He's just someone who wants me, but I've told you I don't want him." The guy asked, "If you don't want him, then why is he always around you?" My dad's strategy was simple. Just stay close to her. Don't push it. Don't force her into it. Closeness usually does the magic. So, he stayed close to her until the other guy walked out of the relationship with my mom. It took 2 years to succeed. At that time, he had become a friend to my mom. My mom said she accused him of breaking up her relationship. My dad answered, "I only came for what I want. If he really loved you as I do, he wouldn't be the one to walk away." So, my mom fell for his effort and later fell in love with him. A few months later, they got married in my mother's church. My dad was free to leave the church on his own, but he said, "This is where I found her, so this is where I will stay." Before he died, my father was the church elder, a position he held for over 10 years. A year after their marriage, I came along. 3 years after I'd arrived, my younger sister came along, then my 2 younger brothers after. Growing up, Dad was there for us. Our mom was the disciplinarian, so we were afraid of her. Dad never hit us. He'll scream and threaten us, but will never lay his hands on us. Mom will throw both her hand and her words at us. Break a plate and she'll break your skin. Go out and don't come early, and she would take our phone away from us. The only one who came to our rescue was our father, so we always wanted to be in his presence. I never heard my dad raising his voice at my mom. You only have to see my dad looking at my mom to see the kind of love he had for her. When my mom was in a bad mood, that's where my dad would start playing with her. He would tease her with old stories, telling her about how she fell in love with him and how he outlasted her old boyfriend. He would make fun of her expression and how she secretly loved him back then but was playing hard to get. My mom would also deny it, and that would put a smile on her face. He always knew the right word to say to put a smile on her face. He enjoys narrating to us the very first time he met my mom. We were not there when it happened, but if you ask any one of us, we'll be able to give you all the details as if we were there. That's because Dad never stopped talking about it. Mom would get defensive and say, "That's not what happened." She'll go ahead and narrate exactly what happened. This moment was what we cherish as family. There was love in our house, I mean love in abundance. That kind of love was reflected in my parents' lives wherever they went. While Dad was serving as the church elder, Mom was also the leader of the women's fellowship. When it came to marriage issues, my parents' marriage became the role model for all the youth in the church. Even I also implemented a lot of things I learned from my parent in my own marriage. Both my mom and dad were on the counseling committee of the church, a committee responsible for counseling couples who are about to get married. Because of my parents' position in the church, we were treated with respect and a lot of kids looked up to us. At least once a year, all my family would travel to Iran to visit our extended family and learn about our culture. My dad makes this trip at least 9 times a year. My dad started having kidney problems 7 years before he passed away. About 5 years later, he had a kidney transplant. After the surgery, he had a stroke and was paralyzed. He couldn't work or participate in many of the activities he loved, but we as family were there for him. After suffering some stroke for a few years, my dad had a heart attack one evening and was rushed to the hospital one dawn, and Dad never came back again. He was 59 years old. The whole community was thrown into a state of mourning. The church mourned him every Sunday, and for 1 week straight, people rushed to our house to come and mourn with us. It was difficult looking at my mother. We had lost a father. That was all we lost, but my mom lost a husband, a friend, a companion in the journey of life, and a soldier who led with a shield to protect her. She never stopped crying, but she never made an attempt to hurt herself. She could go to bed alone and wake up the next morning and mourn. I didn't have any reason to sleep next to her because what she was going through was a normal reaction. Love fills us with joy, but when it's no longer there, its place is occupied by severe pain, a pain it would take a lifetime to heal. The pain was manageable. Each new day brought a balm that tried to slowly soothe the pain away. As per request, my dad wanted to be buried in his home country, so it cost us a small fortune for us to take him there along with me, my mom and the rest of my siblings. When we arrived in Iran, we went to my father's village where we have visited several times. We met our extended family that travel from home and abroad to attend the funeral. It was my dad's 1 week right when we were surrounded by my kinfolk when a woman walked to the family table and started talking to the head of the family. My mom was seated right next to the head of the family so she could hear what was being discussed. The discussion was getting serious, so the family head told the woman to wait until the rite is over so they could talk about what she brought. The family heads sat with the woman while my mom was in the room trying to catch up on some sleep. The woman's mission was simple. She said, "The man we are mourning today is also the father of my first child. I came here today to tell you about it so he wouldn't be a lost seed." Everyone called her a liar. My mom was called into the meeting and her first question was, "Who sent you here today to desecrate the memory of a good man? Who sent you?" They were all shouting and calling the woman a liar until the child she was talking about walked in. Everyone went quiet. My mom walked slowly toward him and touched his face and beard. He was like the ghost of my father. My mom asked him, "How old are you?" He answered, "I'm 31. My mom retorted, "You're older than my first child? How come? What happened? What went wrong?" My mom burst out crying while walking out of the scene. I was right at the corner watching proceedings. I burst out crying too and started questioning the integrity of the man we had always known as the hero of our story. The rest of the affair was handled by the heads of the family. We were later told the woman had been asked to go and come after the funeral. A week later, another woman resurfaced. She came with a lady. The lady is 27 years old. She also had a striking resemblance to my dad. If she stands next to me, we would be called twins. My mom had had enough, so she packed her bag and left the house. She went and rented a hotel. I followed her trying to bring her back home. She was crying. She was breaking down bit by bit, but there was nothing I could do. She kept saying, "No, this is just a dream. This can't be true. No, I'm dreaming." Nothing I said could bring her back. She booked an expensive flight that departs in 2 days. The following day, me and my siblings went to the hotel to see her. While we were at the hotel, my kinfolk had called her to return. They had sent delegates to convince her to return, but she tells them, "That man isn't the man I married. My whole marriage to him was a lie, so let his death also be a lie. I'm not coming today or tomorrow. How do you expect me to face the world after everything? How do you expect me to face the church which held us in high esteem? How do you expect me to be at peace knowing what I know now? He's your family. You can bury him without my presence. I'm not coming anywhere." 2 days later my mom flew back to the States, my younger brothers stayed behind to finish the rites. Both me and my sister travels back to the States to look after our mom. She was crying herself to sleep every night, trying to end her life at our blind spot. It's the reason I sleep next to her. I can't do much to reduce the pain in her heart, but I can watch her at night, so she doesn't do anything bad to herself. When she cries, I asked myself, what is she crying for? For the death of her husband or for the embarrassment she has to face? It's only her who can answer the question. Our father was buried 1 week ago. Our job now is to make sure we don't lose both of our parents.